I will wait a little bit this time as we try to transition. This game is a little notoriously difficult to get streaming, I have found, because Quest for Glory 5 is a Windows 95 game, and it uses this display mode called Direct Play that you actually have to turn on legacy components in order to make it work or something like that. The GOG installer takes care of all that stuff. So this particular installation, however, happens to be from the straight from the CD. So took the data from the CD, ran the necessary installers, essentially wound up with the same thing that GOG would have given you. So
real quick, are mic volumes okay here?
Yeah, we need to double check that.
Right.
So we'll need high spirit.
So this is me talking, and then how are the other two?
I'm David.
How? Not
I'm
who?
David. David is cool, as we call it.
We have learned that.
Honey Goggles asks why we don't play Windows 9.
But it's noticeable.
I actually
sorry, I
did
missed
not
that.
hear that from him. What did he say?
Oh, we can hear everyone. Volume levels so much better this time
Sweet.
around. I'm here.
Awesome. So let's just run with it then. So,
Alright.
welcome to Quest for Glory 5 Dragonfire. This is the final game of the series, and they try to bring as many ultimate achievements as possible. The ultimate boss we will have to fight is a dragon. We will save the world through our actions. Our progress through the social chain will eventually get us married. At least once. I invite chat to guess how many times that'll happen. So we will be playing today as a wizard. And again, the goal is 100% completion. However, in this case, the ending of the game provides a specific to-do list that tells you all of the things that you could have done throughout the game. So we are going to use that list and try to make that list as small as possible. Again, the list contains things like get married to this girl, get married to that girl. We can't get married to all of them, but we might be able to get married to more than one. In any
Is
case,
this game safe for Twitch?
I think it is. Let's hope so.
Polyamory is fine.
Unfortunately,
As long as
I
everything's
don't
safe.
have enough space in this naming screen to give David Still Cool as my name, so it's just going to have to be Crow, unfortunately. Or we can pay homage to the original Questing for Glory and call ourselves Crow here. So, see how many of you guys remember that reference. And get started now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! So, we are starting here with Erasmus, who has teleported us here from Mordavia, and this place is called Silmaria. All of the games of this series make some degree of reference to this particular game, to this particular region, and this is a Grecian mythology area. So we'll see a bunch of monsters and other concepts from there. We are going to start out by immediately returning back to Erasmus. Our reason for doing this is because as a wizard, we have to learn all of the spells that are available to the game. And one of... Oh. Okay, we're good. I was worried that I was going to get a Twitch ad in the background. Sorry.
Wait, you were gonna jump off?
No, sorry. We're good. We're good. Can you jump off here? I've actually not tried.
It is possible.
Wow. Okay. So, This game, you may notice, is on a very different game engine than all the other ones we have seen thus far. So, this is a very early 3D game. It was from the era where game developers felt that in order to keep up with the Joneses, they just had to go with 3D art. However, one thing that they did make good use of was the fact that this game is on a CD, and all of the music for this game is pre-recorded orchestral audio. So everything will sound quite nice throughout. So enjoy that, even if you have to cringe a little bit at the little light show we just got right here. You may notice some similarities between this game and like Final Fantasy VII. It's the same sort of concept of a pre-rendered 2D background with 3D sprites on top.
Yeah,
So-
this is the time when cutting edge graphics meant don't cut yourself on the polygon.
And also, if you want pre-rendered movies, you need to make sure you've got at least version 3. Actually,
Oh.
they made a... go ahead.
So, just progressing along here, I have acquired the Whirlwind spell from Erasmus. The Whirlwind spell is one of a few crowd control spells that you get over the course of the game, and that one just causes enemies to have to spin in place. However, this game's Frostbite spell is a damage over time spell. This is a piece of magic we learned from Katrina in the previous game of the series, and because this game handles damage over time on a frame basis, not a per frame basis, and because apparently they developed this game thinking that it was going to be played by people who could only handle 10 or 15 FPS. Since we have a modern computer that can run this at a full 60 FPS, this is just going to annihilate enemies. Unfortunately, the same is true of us. Any damage over time actions used against us will be terrifying. So we are going to start off here trying to acquire some money. We're going to do this at the magic shop. We will teach Chakra a few spells that he doesn't yet know, including the one we just learned, actually. So apparently Chakra doesn't talk with Erasmus very much. But we will haggle
Neither do
up
we.
the price slightly so that we can get all the things that we want
Did you
shopping.
get magnets?
Hmm?
Did you get magnets?
I am but getting magnets right now. I do that after I shop, because after I get the money. Because once I get the money, the drachmas wind up on my inventory. And I like my mystic magnet that I use to be the red one, and I like it to be on slot 5. So in order to achieve color coding, I order my blanking of a couple inventory slots that way. And we are now entering the Rights of Rulership. This is the 1,000 drachma entry fee is kind of the check to make sure that you understand what you're doing before the main plot kicks in. So I have acquired the money, and I'm starting now to try to become the next king of Silmaria. The previous king was assassinated, and Rakesh and Erasmus are both in this area and have called us here in an attempt to find out what nefarious plot is nefariously trying to affect this region. And the best way to do that is to get right in the action with the Rights of Rulership. First one is the Right of Freedom. We have to rescue a fishing village, and we are only asked to rescue one fishing village. I'll let chat guess how many we do. And so we're going to make progress towards there. However, in the meantime, we have some more shopping to do. I'm going to buy 5 amphore. That has now expended literally all of the money that we have. I have also bought a balloon painting and a map. The map does give you the names of the various islands around, which can be helpful. Mainly, it's just worth points to get it, and that's all I care about. I'll never look at it. The balloon painting, however, is pretty important. This teaches us the concept that a balloon could exist, and we're going to show this to various people in order to get the items necessary to create one ourselves. As you may know, in a role-playing game, gaining the ability to fly is kind of a big deal. So we visit our inn. This is run by a gnome who is named Anne. So this is technically Gnome Anne's Land Inn. And we are then going to steal a spare sheet, and we're going to convince Gnome Anne to
marry us.
I wish.
So yeah, we show the balloon painting to explain why we want her to reinforce that sheet so it can become the skin for that balloon. And then we will tell Gnome Anne about that, the painter, so that she can eventually hire Wolfie to redecorate the area herself. So, we will now start rescuing some towns. We were supposed to rescue Noxos, which is to the south. However, we do get deed-wise credit for each of the villages that we rescue. So, we are in fact going to rescue all 5 as we go on through here.
That should be good for winning the right 5 times, right?
Sort of. I mean, we will get 5 times the rewards, because each time we free one of these villages, we are going to open a chest that has some pretty sweet stuff in it, which reminds me I need to blank a slot here. Okay. So, whenever I say blank a slot, what I'm referring to is emptying one of the spots on, I call it the palette, I think the game calls it the quick access bar on the bottom of the screen, which gives me access to up to 9 different spells or items all at once. This is actually quite convenient. However, grabbing a new item from your inventory and putting it down there is kind of a long and involved process. So whenever I can, I am instead going to just blank one of the existing inventory slots, because that's basically instantaneous to do. And then that will make space for the next item that I acquire to automatically get filed where I want it. So by opening the space that I did, I got the Sigil of Kairos into my quick access bar, and I will be able to use that in order to claim victory later. For now, I'm just going to knock on this door and say, little pig, let me in. At which point the little pigs will say, yeah, sure. Okay, that's how that story goes, right? So, in order to rescue these villages, we have to get into the final mini-boss room with 4 of those mercenaries that have taken it over, and then open the chest. You're not allowed to open the chest while you are in combat. However, by casting the Calm spell, which we learned all the way back in Arana's piece at Quest for Glory 1, just casting Calm causes enemies to cease to be aggressive against you. So that de-aggroes them, you're no longer technically in combat, so you can open the chest, at which point the game figures, oh, you must have defeated all the enemies, and everything's fine. Either that, or the mercenaries were under the impression that they were not actually invading a village, but instead simply playing a game of capture the flag, and it got a little out of hand. We get a couple random encounters here. Whenever you get into one of those rooms, you are placed kind of in a random spot. So far I haven't been too far away from the exits. Hopefully I don't accidentally click on a access to the ocean, because then I'd be in the water, and that takes a while to get out of. And so hopefully the AI doesn't just decide to send me there anyway, because sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty thankful that you have the levitate spell for this part. Otherwise, it's usually a boulder that you have to knock down, and it's finicky.
I have actually never done this room with anything other than levitate. I literally do not know any other way to deal with this room. Yeah, anytime I've played any of the other classes, I've always multi-classed in the magic. So this, to be clear, this is the Pegasus's room. The Pegasus flies there. There's also the Hippocrene River. We took 2 amphorae full of Hippocrene River water, which will fill any imbibers of it with vim and vigor.
Oh, one guard's about to... Oh, wait, you're not there yet.
Not there yet.
Okay,
yeah, we still have
but
3 more places to rescue. David is alluding to one of the easiest things to forget to do in this game, which is warning the guards that Kokino has fallen, but I haven't actually seen Kokino go down yet, so I can't do that just yet. Kokino Pokemiso is one of the participants in the Rights of Rulership. This was a pretty unlucky spot for me to get thrown for this basket. Ouch. So I'm going to grab the basket here. This was dropped at some point by the jeweler, so we'll return that to her, and that's a nice thing to do. We'll run away from these bears here, and we'll move on to Noxos. This was the particular town that we were actually supposed to rescue, so we have an extra stipulation as a wizard for how we deal with this spot. We are supposed to get into the final room here without any other enemies having spotted us. In order to achieve this, we have to enter there during nighttime, which is why we got here later rather than immediately. And it is also why I have cast the Calm spell immediately upon entering the area, and then I immediately ran through. Afterward, unfortunately, the positioning of the enemies is such that I cannot click on the door directly, so I cast Frostbite on one to just knock him out. And you saw just how brutally powerful that spell is.
And now, that will be consistent throughout the whole thing, even the last go down.
Yeah, even the last boss is going to be not all that difficult to take down thanks to the ludicrous power of that spell. So we are now progressing to the 4th of 5 towns, and we briefly stop by a dragon pillar. There are a series of pillars set up to keep the Dragon of Doom, the particular dragon that had knocked out the kingdom of Atlantis a while ago. And if all of those pillars are destroyed, then the dragon would rise again. And unfortunately, Kokino Pokemiso, one of the participants in the Rights of Rulership, whose name literally translates to red shirt. If you know anything about the
Star Trek universe.
Yeah, the Star Trek universe, then you may have a guess as to how well he's going to do on his first away mission. He has, in fact, been slain in a ritualistic murder to destroy that first dragon pillar. So this here is the final one of the towns we need to grab the sigils from. So we'll just use the Mystic Magnet in order to get back to our inn. And now we will claim victory. We do still have a little bit of mana left over. And yes, I need to warn the guards about Kokino.
It's so easy to miss.
It is so easy to miss. There's like not even a guard visible here. You have to understand that this door can be knocked on. And then, rather than little pig, let me in, and then we grab a chest, this time we warn the guard about a murder. And so we have done that. We have done the responsible thing, and now we can progress up towards Knob Hill, where the Hall of Kings is located. A convenient feature of the Hall of Kings is that anytime you enter it, for any reason, your character immediately has all of their HP, SP, MP, food state, sleeping state restored. So,
and marriage status.
Oh dear. So this gives me the excuse to practice Frostbite a little bit more. As I practice Frostbite, it'll do even more ridiculously large amounts of damage, which will help in a couple places throughout the game. So we have claimed victory. Hooray, hooray.
So when do you take care of the bank robbery?
I take care of the bank robbery between the end of this rite and the beginning of the next. I'm on a bit of a clock there in terms of making sure that Erasmus has helped us out before he gets drugged. But I will sleep an extra day, or at least sleep an extra 8 hours right upon returning from this rite.
My basket.
So we get the basket from Sarah, and while we're here, we may as well buy an engagement ring, which we will use at least once. And then we are going to continue our shopping spree. We have a fair amount of cash on our hands right now, and this is because there was a lot of stuff to be had within the chests in all of those villages. We didn't just get the sigils, we also got 500 drachma for each one, and we also got a magical item, all of which we are going to use. I'm going to learn all of the magic I can from Chakra now that I have the cash. The important one is the Boom spell. Boom is non-elemental damage, and it also sets up a mine, which unfortunately can detonate on me, potentially. I'm now going to buy a whole bunch of stuff from Marok, the food person. Most of these are gifts we're going to give to other people later. However, we also get the brazier, which we will use as a heat source for our eventual balloon. Remote talk with that door. I have never seen that happen.
Wow.
And that is extremely lucky. Yeah, that was awesome. Blank a few slots. Sell 9 of our 10 Pegasus feathers. And then purchase a poison cure pill, 30 healing pills, just in case we need them. I'll probably need like 10. And then stamina pills, thanks for the reminder. We need to buy a stamina pill just for the sake of having bought one that's on the deeds list. We are never going to use it. Instead, we're just going to let our lack of stamina hurt our health, and then use healing pills to heal the damage. So that's just more convenient, even if it's not as cost effective. To explain what happened with the door over there, if you get blocked by a character, the game just kind of lets you interact with the thing that you were trying to interact with remotely. This also happens if you get stuck for pretty much any other reason, too. And I just got stuck on the random townsperson in an extremely unlikely way, and that allowed me to access the door without actually walking up to it. So now we have hitched a ride on a fishing boat run by Andre, the fisherman, and we are now going to take the fight to the mercenaries that had been invading those fishing villages. These mercenaries have an unusually low amount of HP here, so that's something. I'm going to grab a spear, and I'm now going to kill 2 of these guys, and then... Oh, wow, that guy's moving way faster than usual. I'll have to cast another Frostbite to have the right angle. Use 1 mana potion. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I forgot to equip stuff. Let's not die here. Some of my winnings from the previous thing. Hopefully I'm not going to get a health reset on the wizard. We're good?
Yeah, so this wizard here is not susceptible to the Frostbite spell. He is susceptible to trigger, but unfortunately that works, so we gotta use the boom spell to take him down. Oh, and a general just fell.
Ah! Get out of my way! What on earth?
Oh god!
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Has that ever happened before?
Usually it happens like on the top of the stairs. I've never had it happen in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it kind of happened earlier when you were trying to go.
Oh dear. Okay, so I sleep 8 hours once I return home with the General's shield, which, by the way, is my proof that I have, in fact, defeated the General there. And I'm sleeping 8 hours in order to advance the clock to day 3. On day 3, the bank gets robbed, and we eventually need to solve this robbery, and we need Erasmus's help to do so. And the last rite during which we are allowed to do this is the next one. So we need to pick up the evidence we are going to ferry over to him at this time. We don't really have any other opportunity to do it. So we will pick that up right now. Did I already miss? Yeah, I missed the free ad. Oh well. And now I will head up to claim my victory for the previous fight. Let's get the General's Shield over here. And I will also equip that shield. It'll help in the upcoming right, because I will have to do some physical combat there. Oh, whoops. Shield, not just talking. There we go. A little bit of derping there, but we got lined up.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words in this game.
Usually.
Usually, that's fair.
We've lost another one of our contestants, by the way, in the Rights of Rulership. Magnum Opus, who talks like this and is completely full of himself, was the next one to go down.
Yeah, not like David, who's actually awesome.
Yeah. Definitely. This guy here knows about it, although for that knowledge, he has been assassinated now. Actually, he's been assassinated because he was pushing for us not to fight the Hydra as the next Right of Rulership, but instead to hunt down the assassin. So the assassin made sure that he knew what he thought of that. So we will be going after the Hydra. In the meantime, we will visit Erasmus. This is kind of our most convenient time to do so. Incidentally, I could have abandoned Rakesh there. Rescuing Rakesh with the poison cure pill, as I did there, is not mandatory for the wizard. It's not worth any points. However, if I don't, I'll get arrested later. So, that later arrest turns out to take more time than running across the top of Knob Hill does, so it winds up being the case that I have to rescue him anyway. We're going back into the 0G area of Erasmus, and we will show the evidence that was left behind at the scene of the crime. Also, look out, camera! Whoa! In order
that's
to...
exciting. That's a
That's a space I can trust.
Yeah.
Find this little kid. Well then.
So,
Yes,
most of the
that's
conversations in
what's
the game I'm skipping by mashing the
Might be sure
space
you
bar.
that thing after all.
However,
All right.
any animation associated with conversation causes the conversation itself to not be skippable. Here we are learning, supposedly, that the thief that used this toolkit was a one-handed individual, which is supposed to point us to Orestes, the pirate, Orestes, who will be arrested by us later. Going through this scene allows us to go into the Thieves Guild, where otherwise we would not be able to. At this point, it is time for us to catch up on a little bit of stuff that we are a little behind on in terms of meeting Andre. Andre, the fisherman, we never talked to prior to the beginning of the Rights of Rulership, which means that his current conversation state is still just the introduction. This means I cannot get anchovies from him just yet. I will have to re-enter the room in order to do so. And as everyone knows, you must acquire anchovies in order to defeat the Hydra. It is completely necessary.
And canon in Greek.
How do you expect to save Somaria if you can't get some shows?
So specifically, the reason we need anchovies is that anchovy and artichoke pizza is the favorite flavor selection for the scientist that is around Science Island during the day. And we are going to have to assemble a little flying machine. And so we need to convince this scientist that we are, in fact, worthy of doing some science, which our ability to create a good pizza will prove.
Do you stop at the Adventurers Guild?
I do that before the Rite of Destiny, so that I get the
Okay.
Hippocrene water on my pallet at a convenient time.
Ah, that makes sense.
Inventory slot management winds up being a large part of the small optimizations that go into this game. Speaking of small optimizations, this is a good opportunity for me to practice a little bit of Frostbite, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And This particular puzzle is kind of the bane of my existence. I have so much trouble here, and I really should not. It's not supposed to be that hard. But I need to click this lever, destroy it because it's no good. It's rusted shut. And then I install a spear as my own lever, and then I deal with that. Okay, that'll be all my frostbite practice for now. I'm now going to assemble a couple pizzas. So pepperoni pizza, add some jalapenos. Artichoke pizza, add some anchovies. Grab that item. I'm also going to need some beeswax and a feather. 1 feather is sufficient. And I hope you like the wind sound effect, because I paused the game at a time when it was playing, so it just kept going for a while. Force bolt, and I'll get the other spells later. Force bolt will allow me to hit this lever from afar. We learned that spell back in Quest for Glory 2, although we never particularly saw it previously. It was used in Quest for Glory 4 with the fighter there, sorry, the paladin there, to free a bush from the gooey situation it was in. So coming up, we need to convince this machine at Science Island that we are sufficiently admiring of the whole science thing that we are allowed to enter. So essentially we just need to suck up to the scientists and this academy specifically in order to get in. Anytime you answer one of these questions incorrectly, the wheel rotates the other way. Once it rotates all the way around, we can enter. The next quiz will prove that we can potentially be a lab assistant, and this quiz actually involves real science. Conveniently, none of these questions are randomized, either in terms of their position of the answers or the contents of the questions at all, so we can just memorize where we need to go. So we've now befriended Dr. Pretorius with the pizza. We put some beeswax and 1 feather, just 1, onto the flying machine in order to create some Icarus wings, at which point, I forgot to click on it, at which point we then just fly out. You have to do this during the daytime, because if you know anything about your Greek mythology, these wings are required to melt under the sun.
Do you think your wings would have lasted longer if you put more feathers on it?
I
We'll
think
go
the
with
scientists
yes.
would have been so impressed. Is he one of them?
I don't know.
Oh, but check out that animation.
Man, his back is so straight. This is really impressive.
It's almost the T-pose you always see on character models whenever they've glitched out.
T-pose to assert dominance over the Hydra Island.
Alright, so I'm going to get a few things onto my inventory bar that I need for this upcoming battle. I'm going to fight the Hydra, but he is not vulnerable to ordinary damage. Instead, I need to hit him with a magical weapon, which I will do using the Zap spell to enhance this magical axe. I picked up one from one of the chests while I was doing the Right of Freedom. I also got one from the corpse of the general before. We defeated the first head of the Hydra because it respawns with a lot less HP than what it starts with. So this will help Elsa to deal with the Hydra. And we need to burn all the stumps. Supposedly we're just waiting for Elsa to chop the heads down, but she's too slow, so we help her out.
Why is she trying to sidestep around a head?
Because generic combat animation, I'm sure. That's probably good enough there. I prep this head so that she can kill this one a little bit faster as well. And then it is going to be time for me to burn the last stump also. So I basically killed all 3 heads and burned all of them. But as far as we're concerned, Elsa was really the reason we won this. So we will go ahead and give her the teeth of the Hydra so that she can claim victory here. We do not get any deed-wise credit for claiming victory for this rite. We just get credit for having actually slain the Hydra. So that works out conveniently there. I need to blank one more slot, and I will cast Trigger. Sometimes this Trigger spell kind of glitches out. And it glitches. Oh, there we go. We need that trap on the chest to go off. Grab the Shrink spell, grab the rope. I need to actually read the Shrink spell scroll. Say that 10 times fast. And I have done that now. And now I'm going to briefly talk to Gnome Anne so that she can tell me the mortgage is due. If Gnome Anne is waiting to tell you about something, she will fail to advance the blinging out of the pimping out, I guess. The addition of bling, whatever you want to call it, of the inn. That won't happen if she's waiting to tell you something, so we have listened. And oh wait, what am I doing? I did that a little early. I just need to sleep here. Elsa is going to claim victory for this, and in order to trigger that, I just need to sleep in the inn. Whoops. So busy trying to figure out how to say fancy jokes that I botched the actual thing I was supposed to do. It happens. So Elsa will win this particular rite, which is fine.
Don't forget to tell Wolfie about the balloon.
I will take care of that once the balloon is created. You can start telling Wolfie about it once the balloon is under construction, and you lose the ability to tell Wolfie about it once... Let's see, actually... Oh, right, yeah. I talked to Fenris at this time. I was trying to remember whether I went straight down or not, but at this point, the scientists are starting to get rather irritated with the tasks that are being assigned for the Rights of Rulership, because we have just defeated a Hydra, a beast that they are sure clearly doesn't exist. And this next rite is to hear our prophecy told by the Oracle who is at Delos. So we will need to get there via a hot air balloon, which the scientists find interesting. However, they are very angry at the whole prophecy concept, and so they have decided to start drugging all of the wizards of the area, starting with Erasmus. So right now happens to be a convenient time for me to collect some of the evidence there. And essentially they were given a box of chocolates that were supposedly from us, and obviously they weren't. I'll use the magnet to get back down here, and then I will go talk with Elsa. Oh hey, the inn's been painted. Hooray! It's now sufficiently colorful to be a gnome's inn. We will move on to the Adventurers Guild, where we will sign the logbook, but also Elsa happens to be chilling there, and we will get some camaraderie with her. We have previously given her what she considers a gift by giving her the Hydra's teeth. In order to marry a woman in this game, you need to talk with them a certain number of times, and you also must give them 3 gifts. So this counts as one of our times talking with her. Then we will talk with her 2 more times once she creeps into our room later. It's actually kind of disturbing. But for now, we are going to put the Hippocrene River water into our palates, and bam! Whoops, that's not where I meant to put it, but whatever, it'll be fine.
So you have a reminder here about getting the...
That's it.
Did not hear that. Oh, getting the swimming manual, was it? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, got it. Here we go. So, I need to learn how to swim. This is a new skill that was added for this game. And the way you do that is by grabbing a book there. If you don't learn how to swim, the results are very embarrassing later on. we eventually will have to do a bunch of stuff underwater. So this is the famous adventurer, by the way. He is the guy who taught us through the famous Adventurers Correspondence School before the events of Quest for Glory 1 how to be a hero. So he is unfortunately kind of down in a funk. We give him some Hippocrene River water in order to get some more pep in his step, at which point we can now...
I wish.
So yeah, we can now potentially get information about how to handle all of these rights from him. Of course, we already know this information, so we don't have to ask, which is convenient, because there are a couple things where you really shouldn't know to try the thing that is the correct thing to do, but if you already know, then you can just do it and it works. We'll see that particularly as we're entering Hades later. So, next up, during this gondola ride, which by the way is not going to be interrupted in any way as we rest 6 hours, we're just going to sleep for another 6 hours. And it is now evening. We have kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde business going on here with the heads of the Science Academy. And so in the evening, the very clearly different person, Dr. Mobius, will appreciate a jalapeno and pepperoni pizza. And so we have now befriended him, and he will let us up here. We now have to solve a extremely long multi-step problem, as the scientists describe it, as we put in one series of numbers and click the button, and then we're done with this puzzle. We just need to get this gondola as the basis for our hot air balloon that we are now going to create. So I'm going to grab a whole bunch of stuff we need to have for this. So we need a bed sheet, we need a tinder box, we need a rope, which we have some glue, and we need a brazier. And now I believe I have assembled all the things. Sheet, rope, brazier, windproof goo, which is a strange way to describe sap, but it is relevant to how you're using it, and that is how the game describes it.
And
so
then
we
tell Wolfie about the balloon.
Yes, we need to tell Wolfie about the balloon we have just constructed. As soon as you land on Delos, the order of priorities of the conversations changes, and the ability to tell Wolfie that you're trying to construct his balloon goes away. And it is worth points to do that, so we are going to do that right now before we lose the ability to do so. We are also going to add a rather unusual spell to our palette, not one that it usually sees a lot of use in this game, but it is kind of handy while we're talking to the Oracle. So, here we go. This should be here. Nope. Sometimes I get that fourth conversation option, and I'm not actually sure why, but it happened there again. So I just have to clear one more set of talking options than usual, but we eventually told him about the balloon, and now we can proceed. Delos Island is far to the northwest. However, because we were ourselves facing southeast when we entered the Hydra, that caused the balloon itself to be facing southeast whenever we launched from the platform on Science Island. So I'm actually using the down arrow because all controls in this game, as far as motion goes, are tank controls, fundamentally.
But how do you make a balloon go backward?
I mean, it's a balloon. It's really no more difficult than making it go sideways if you think about it. But if you do tell this balloon to turn, it is painfully slow. So I do not recommend doing that. So at this point, we are going to dance with the Dryads. We're going to give them some energy-filled Hippocrene River water. And once we have done this for all the dryads, we're going to get a very nice musical number and a era appropriate, we'll put it that way, light show that goes on during
Also,
it.
did you like awkward dancing? Because we're doing that again.
Yes, and we actually have some control over our awkward dance in this one. So I'll try to show that off a little bit. This is the longest input break in the game, by the way. This game is somewhat notably longer than the other ones. But there is this built-in break that is a little bit convenient. As a wizard, we are going to have to actually watch this dance. Although all of the character classes do gain points for starting this, we could use the Mystic Magnet to escape at this time if we wanted to. But as the wizard, we need some magic wood so we can create yet another staff. Because the first staff we made, we threw and then blew up. The second staff we got, we used as if it were a spear.
Yeah.
And then the staff after this is finally going to be one we actually hang on to. Although it's not going to be one we really care about. In this game, having the staff gives you essentially a second mana bar, is what it comes down to. We will need Chakra's help eventually to make it. And for now, I'm actually just going to quiet down a little bit so that we can maybe hear the music. This section, you can alter the graphics if you turn during it. If you try to run during this, you just kind of get paralyzed and slide.
This is dark magic.
The way I describe this is below 25 agility dancing.
In the first game of the series, especially in the VGA version, the dance is rather different depending on whether you meet an agility check or not whenever you dance with the fairies. That dance there was a little on the derpy side. Alright, so here's the wood. And I also need a drachma coming up, so let's go ahead and grab that drachma. So to get your oracle, you do have to pay a coin, 1. And we need to afterward acquire 2 items that are conveniently loosely on the screen here. Because of that, we can actually use the fetch spell. By the way, the prophecy we get from the Oracle here is like the most blunt and obvious prophecy of any of the ones you get in the whole series.
Death.
Pretty much. So I need to wait for fetch to connect with the first object before I start casting it on the second, or else the second cast... Or else the first cast will retroactively fetch the second item, which is kind of strange. But I do grab those items that are pretty far separated from each other rather quickly with the fetch spell, and then I peace out. I get back on the balloon, and then I teleport back. I'm dropping off the balloon where I'm going to need it next. So this is just kind of partially getting ourselves the way there. As for now, I am on my way up towards Knob Hill, and one way to very slightly accelerate our path there while achieving something else that we need to do anyway is by casting Trigger and Open on what turns out to be the entrance to the Thieves Guild So I'm going to go ahead and grab open.
Oh yeah, the bank was robbed.
Yep, the bank was robbed. We
I
got
forgot
the
about
evidence
that.
we needed. So now we're going to arresties, the R pirate. And we tell him that we've got some magic that allegedly incriminates him, and he immediately caves in. He is so scared of magic, apparently.
Even though said wizard is drugged.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Not all of the drugging plot follows logic. Like, the conclusion of that is tied to you turning in the cure to the apothecaries, and not tied to having actually seen the scientists at the act and getting them arrested that way. So a little confusing there. And there's even more confusion later on with Chakra and the staff that we're going to eventually turn that wood into a magic staff. For now, since we are a wizard ourselves, the scientists are trying to drug us too. So you saw one of those same boxes of chocolates there, which causes no man to want to talk about that. So we need to clear that conversation too. So we can eventually do yet another extremely important and extremely dignified dance later in the inn.
Oh yeah, that.
So the
Probably
next...
the hero's best one.
Right, sorry, go ahead.
No, just the hero's best dance, probably.
Yes, probably. So the next task in the Rights of Rulership is the right of courage. We need to face death by literally going there. We need to visit Hades and return with some water from the river Styx to prove that we have, in fact, gone there. You have to get a hint from Famous Adventurer to figure this out, but if you just cross the streams here by pouring water into water, then you apparently bust some ghosts. Anyway, the gates to Hades will open, Cerberus will be blocking it, but we have multiple ways we can deal with him. We can potentially bribe him with various types of food that the different heads of Cerberus appreciate. But that takes a while, so we're just going to throw some magic at him and then bait him out and run behind. If we were a paladin, we would be required to do this in the more peaceful fashion. If we were a warrior, we would be forced to fight Cerberus until he got tired of how much pain he was suffering. He is immortal, so you can't actually kill him, but eventually he will give up the fight, and that is required for a warrior, and definitely anti-required for a paladin. As for us, it doesn't matter. We just have to get by him however we choose. Here's another cliff. We are going to use the Levitate spell once again to get below it. We saw the Levitate spell a fair number of times in Quest for Glory 4 because it just happens to be a convenient way to get through. Another spell we could have learned in Quest for Glory 4, but didn't because we were a paladin, is not this spell, but the other spell with a hand on it, the Resistance spell, which I'm going to cast for safety here. The Resistance spell protects us from elemental damage. The enemies down here that are red have horns and are called mains. Those guys have a fire breath attack that, for exactly the same reasons that my Frostbite spell is way the heck more powerful than it should be, that spell will annihilate us if we are not properly protected. You can potentially just nom 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 some healing pills as well to try to survive. However, if you get in exactly the wrong position, he can potentially deal you so much damage that it's faster than your fastest healing rate with healing pills can account for. So I'm going
Basically,
Go
it's
for
not
it.
Dragon's Breath, but it's pretty close. Don't drink the Dragon's Breath.
Definitely don't do that. I do a retroactive slot blanking there. I think what is happening is they inserted a delay to try to sync up our get water animation with the addition of water to our inventory. However, I think they added that delay after the end of the animation, such that there's a bit of a delay after we've apparently gotten the water before it is awarded to us. Once again, there's a mains here, so I'm going to go ahead and cast resistance again, just in case. That one did not attack us, so that's nice. With the resistance spell up, it actually doesn't matter whether they attack us or not. We have acquired 2 different types of water here, by the way. One is water of the river Styx we need in order to win this particular rite. Another is water of the river Lethe, which will cause whoever drinks it to sleep like a baby. So, by the way, that's how much damage I take from that, even with like 95% of it removed thanks to the resistance spell. It's pretty brutal. So, since we're in Hades, we might as well bring someone back from the dead. I mean, it's just kind of what you do here.
Does that make you a player, Hades?
Something like that. We are about to be a playa. We have an option of 2 women here. One is Arana, who's devoted her whole life and, in fact, expended her life in order to bring peace and beauty to the world. And the other is Katrina, who almost destroyed the world and brought about the Lovecraftian apocalypse just because she wanted a little bit more nighttime. Obviously, we're choosing that girl. So, Katrina it is. We revive her, and she does know some magic, so she will go ahead and teach us some. We have to do that during this rite. We cannot wait until the next one. So, that's why we dropped off the balloon right next to the gates to Hades. We will use that to immediately give her a visit. First, though, we have to get out of Hades, and unfortunately, this area does not... I need this over here. There we go. This area does not allow us to use the Mystic Magnet to just escape. You have to get out of Hades the old-fashioned way, which apparently involves some MC Escher-style geometry. We're going to go out of a door and wind up someplace that we didn't go into the door from.
Yeah, it's actually weird because that door does not end up connected to the exit until you visit the Guardian. So you have to see that cutscene even if you died, you're not either back to life.
Right. And this room is humongous. Part of the reason why I bother with a resistance spell to make sure I don't die to bad luck with the mains is that if you have to redo this room, it takes forever. By the way, during the cutscene, all of the enemies just get thrown to these coordinates, so they're all just stacked on literally the same pixel. If you have any...
safe for Twitch?
Oh dear. If you feel like killing all the different types of undead, you can just throw one frostbite there and they all die. So I will have to go through healing pills rather quickly here because I expended half of my vitality in order to revive Katrina. So because of that, my HP and my SP are both half of what they normally are. Approximately. Cerberus can block me as I try to get out here. He did not this time, so that's nice. In case it wasn't clear, yes, we chose the potential destroyer of the world as the person we brought back from the dead, Katrina. So we will give her a visit now. Katrina has a very unusual property to her, where anytime you visit her area, if it is not currently the evening, it becomes 8 o'clock. That will not factor into this particular visit, but future times I go to her, it will sometimes be convenient and sometimes just be kind of weird. So, Katrina is obviously a pretty cool person. We spent half of our life to bring her back. So obviously we want to talk with her enough that she will eventually marry us. We'll add her to the list as far as that goes. So talk with her about all the things to make sure that she loves us down the line. And we also ask about magic, which causes her to teach us the Dragon Fire spell, which unfortunately is kind of the wrong element to take down the only character that might be strong enough for us to want to use it against, which is a literal dragon. So a bit of an unfortunate circumstance there. We will.
That's a little clapping
You'll
off
just
me.
have to do it with Frostbite.
Yeah. We'll somehow make do with that miserable spell. Is there anything else I need to do on this day? I don't think so, right? Just turn in the Styx water?
Your reminder list doesn't say anything for today.
Okay,
I mean,
we should be good.
It's a little late to visit the apothecary.
Yeah, we'll do that on the next day. We will clean up, once we can, a whole bunch of little tasks around town that we've been putting off. Just kind of get them all done in one fell swoop. But for now, we are going to engage in circular logic in authentication. So, an oath by the water of the river Styx cannot be a lie. We have some water that we claim is from the river Styx. So, to prove that it is water of the river Styx, we are going to swear by this water here that it is water from the river Styx. And since such an oath cannot be a lie, this must be that water.
That's
Right?
some Tolkien level oath making right there.
I'm thinking the scientists have a point.
Yeah. So I do need to visit the scientists here, and I'll do that as I'm taking care of a whole bunch of other stuff. This is Chakra. He is currently drugged by the scientists. However, that fact seems to take lower precedence than his urge to help us make our magic staff from this magic wood. So
What a bro.
here we go. If immediately after this I try to re-enter this shop, the shop is in fact closed right now, so it's kind of strange I can get in here at this time at all. Yeah. But this does turn out to be the most convenient time to take care of all this, so this is when we are going to do it. Next up, we need to deal with the apothecary. And as we do so, we will require this set of drugged chocolates so that the apothecary can figure out how to resolve that particular problem. The drug turns out to cause its victims to sleep without getting rest. So the water of the river Lethe turns out to be the cure. We will turn in that out of order just because we can. But we will also enter this area twice, because the second time we come in, they are going to talk about Erasmus. And when Erasmus is the topic of conversation, when you say goodbye to Julinar, that is your only opportunity to acquire the magic seeds from her. So we do that, and now we can proceed.
Don't eat the chocolate.
Don't eat the chocolate, no. Can you try to eat that chocolate?
That was... What's up?
Can you try to eat that chocolate? I feel like there's
Oh yeah, instant game over.
Oh wow, okay. I feel like I tried to do it before and my character just said no. Maybe it depends on your difficulty slider setting or something. I don't know. Or maybe it's a difference of clicking it on yourself versus using the eat command from the inventory. Maybe there's an inconsistency there. There's always all sorts of little weird things like that in these games. But for now, we need to go to Science Island one last time. This time we are going to supposedly catch the scientists in the act of modifying Gort to become a submersible vehicle. Gort is kind of a Frankenstein's monster, in case that wasn't obvious from the backside of his model. And the scientists supposedly spill the beans when we supposedly talk with them here, that they were in fact the ones who drugged all the wizards. So that will get us credit for being able to arrest them, even though it was the Lethe water that actually allows them to become arrested later.
Arrestees.
Wrong person.
Oh.
That's the R pirate. But anyway, for whatever reason, they give you credit for this not whenever you open up the lab to see what's going on, but just whenever you enter the room at all. So I'm just going to enter the room and then magnet out, and I don't even have to use the password that I learned whenever I, which by the way is random, and if I did have to open the secret lab door, that could potentially have been a bit of a challenge. See, I should have given the seeds. What else do I need to do right now? I need to deal with Atlantis. Once I get back from Atlantis, I'll need to sleep in order to talk with Elsa. I also will
That's the only thing on your list.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's the dance, there's the seeds, there's talking to Elsa.
Okay, I will deal with the dance immediately after dealing with Elsa, and then we'll be in good shape. So next up, we're going to visit Katrina again. We need to visit her a bunch of times in order to eventually get her to like us well enough to accept our proposal to marry her. And we also, during this visit, can acquire a water-breathing amulet, which will allow us to explore Atlantis a lot more easily. One thing that has prevented Andre the fisherman from necessarily going everywhere around here has been attacks by Tritons. The mercenaries that we dealt with all the way back at the Rite of Conquest. The first thing that they did was rile up some trouble with the Tritons, so they are now at war with Silmaria. We are going to have to convince them that that's a bad idea. As a wizard, we are required to accomplish this in peace mode, which means we cannot kill any of the Tritons. So we'll try to get around them, and conveniently our 1/5 of the maximum possible bare minimum amount of swimming skill is still sufficient for us to swim every bit as quickly as these mermen do.
Which is kind of unacceptable.
Well, that book put you at 100, which in Spielberg would make you the undisputed master.
So you're claiming that that Atlantis is located in Germany?
Maybe.
That's one way to hide it.
Just saying, you can learn a lot from it.
So anyway, we just kind of clipped past those Tritons. In order to move upward and downward underwater, you have to use the page up and page down buttons, in addition to the arrow keys, which are how you move forward and turn. So, really awkward control scheme. But what I do is I kind of get in front of the general entrance that the Tritons are trying to block, and then I just kind of wiggle upward and downward until eventually it clips me through.
It's still a lot more responsive than a lot.
Come again, you kind of clipped out there.
Oh, sorry, never mind.
Okay.
I never had too much that's actually work.
So I'm going to cast the open spell to get in through the side here rather than having to fight my way through the front door. Because again, we need to do this piecewise. The famous adventurer tells us about these little secret passages. There was another one that we did not work with before. It's kind of slow to use that one. So at this point, we're going to talk about how the Dragon of Truth is being revived by someone. And since... Sorry, not Dragon of Truth. The Dragon of Doom is being revived by someone. And since that dragon was the dragon that destroyed Silmaria before, they take that super seriously. Also, I was supposed to sleep until evening, and I slept until morning, whatever. Elsa learned some things while she was with the band of brigands and doing all that thieving stuff before. So she has managed to break into our room undetected in order to tell us that she's suspecting that Minos, her sponsor to the Rights of Rulership, may be the one who's behind all of the ne'er-do-welling around
That
here.
guy that was in the opening cinematic?
Yes. Who was hiring the assassin. Who knew?
Shocker.
Wait, there's a second conversation?
Huh.
I am.
Well, I'll be darned.
Can anyone say this has never happened before? Because,
Well, you had your chance there. You had your chance there to kiss her.
it did not happen before.
Maybe the game is scripted to make it happen every.
I guess.
That's kind of weird.
That was very strange. So I was just trying to correct my sleeping schedule there because I wanted to come out of here during the evening so I could do this dance, which is, of course, the most wholesome thing you will see on stream all day. I guarantee it.
I really.
So whenever
least
someone
awkward
asks
dance.
you to help with something and just wants you to say yes or no, you always say yes. And these are our consequences. She hired a belly dancer, but that belly dancer canceled. So we are filling in. You will never unsee this.
Sweet Caroline. The comments in chat.
Okay,
He married that gnome, unfortunately.
so
Dark magic!
So what you just witnessed there was the head of the hero spliced onto one of the other marriage candidates. Unfortunately, one that we are not going to marry today, Nawar. She was one of the girls from the harem from back in Quest for Glory 2. And unfortunately, marrying her is kind of long and involved and requires meeting her on a Romeo and Juliet style balcony scene several times in order to get everything to go forward. So Elsa turns out to be far more convenient. And everyone knows that convenience is the most important thing when getting married in a speedrun. Specifically in a speedrun. Don't apply this too liberally. Alright.
You know, they make a good point in chat. I mean, I don't know. Did 7 this scene? I don't know. I will have to think about that.
So we arrested the scientists there for the whole drugging the wizards business, which disqualifies Gort because it turns out he wasn't even human. And that comes out there. So at this point, also Gort was an accomplice to all of the nefarious deeds, so that also got him disqualified. In any case, it is now the final right, the right of justice. We need to bring whoever was behind all the assassination stuff to justice and stop the whole Rising of the Dragon of Doom business. So we have a couple other outstanding tasks, so we will take care of those things now. We will rent the boat from Andre. This will help us in a couple ways. For one, we need to visit Katrina a couple more times so we can get married. But we dumped the hot air balloon before while we were on our way to Atlantis. We wanted to get there as the crow flew, and we did. But now we need to get married to Katrina, so we need to get over here somehow, and the boat works fine. Speaking of getting married, we will need to give her a few things she likes. She doesn't like jewelry, but she does like the Amulet of Defense. And now that she's not undead, she can actually enjoy flowers. So give her these things. And then soon, we will give her the engagement ring. The reason we can get married to more than one woman in this game is that Katrina does not take the engagement ring from us on the spot. She says something to the effect that we should get married and move on with our lives once the immediate danger has passed. This keeps the ring in our inventory so we can then immediately hand it over to Elsa and get married a second time. So we are now sailing backward in this boat because that works just fine. And this, if you dock into Silmaria, then you will immediately be placed on the port, which is where we want to be, because if you recall from a long time ago, Gnome Anne was complaining that she was having a hard time paying her mortgage payments, so we give to Senor Ferrari, our favorite dude from the...
From Quest for Glory 2.
Yes, that one.
It's been a while since we dealt with that guy.
Yeah, he was the person who told us to steal the Black Falcon before. So we get the deed from him. Surprise, surprise, doing business with him is doing business with the loan shark. So we will now get married to Elsa. We've already given her Hydra teeth, which counted as one gift. And Elsa, being the thief that she is, does actually take the engagement ring immediately whenever we offer it to her. So now we will get married to 2 women, and we are nearly done with everything we need to do. We just need to turn in the deed of the inn to Gnome Anne. And then after that, it's just a matter of essentially doing the any percent stuff. So there is a major skips glitch category for this game, and everything you're about to see at this point is everything that is done there. So we are in fact going to pick up damage over time area effect spell, and the assassin turns out to be just chilling behind that portcullis right there.
Now he's literally chilling.
Yep, now he's literally chilling because we cast Frostbite. So by killing him from behind the wall, it thinks that we went through the event where he attempts to assassinate you now. So this begins the end game sequence. So now it doesn't matter what method we choose to confront Minos, just so long as we do confront Minos and eventually get him arrested, which will trigger him to flee the area and begin summoning the Dragon of Doom. So we'll need to make sure that that doesn't happen, or at least attempt to make sure that doesn't happen. So we have 4 spells on our palette here. We need Frostbite to kill, everything. We need the Calm spell to disengage from combat at various times, because you're not always allowed to cast Open if someone is trying to attack you. So right after we get into combat here, I'm going to cast Calm my first time. Then I am going to get up to this gate and cast Calm a second time. Once the enemies disappear from the list, I will magically open the gate, run forward, and before the Calm spell deactivates, I will cast Open on the next door, thereby avoiding all that combat. The Trigger spell will now be cast on these guys that have their staves out, and unfortunately, if you cast Trigger on someone who has a magic staff out, they just blow up.
Quake physics are on.
Yeah.
That's not safe to Twitch.
I am somewhat impressed that they bothered with ragdoll physics sorts of stuff there. So I kill the goons that are blocking my path and then open the door. If you do a proper timing of the Calm spell and then cast Open, you can deal with it that way too. So I'm going to kill the Minotaur with like 2 casts of Frostbite. Why was that guy invincible for so long? Whatever. So now we get a speech. A soliloquy, if you will.
You are mistaken. I will not be defeated. I will destroy everything and you both will die. I hold the prophecy stone in my hands. When it breaks, the dark
Something I'd like to point out, look at the talking head. they put in a system that procedurally generates lip syncing based on what sorts of sounds are in the wave file for each
No
voice
one
line.
can stop me. I am your doom.
That's pretty cool.
There's a lot of tech that went into this game, and this is the only game that uses this game engine. It's kind of disappointing. Basically, this game got released, and then the studio was immediately disbanded. Is basically how it went. They didn't even wait to collect the money.
That's true. This game almost didn't happen.
For several reasons, really.
Massive letter writing campaign.
I just kicked Minos instead of searching the body. Whoops.
Oh, well.
Marathon strats.
It's not like you're a paladin.
Right, so a couple of reminders. Resistance spell here or fireproofing. Resistance, you need resistance. There's a test for it.
I also need to fix the dragon pillar. I need to summon some reinforcements from Katrina, who teleports us to where the dragon now is.
You also need to give healing pills to Gort.
Yep, got it. I need Gort to help me with the pillar, I need Toril to help me with the pillar, and then I need to help me with the pillar. If my character can figure out how to path there! Oh no! Okay, there we go. We've had some serious trouble with pathing around other characters so far this run. I'm going to grab
This area in
some...
particular is just vicious with it, though. I mean, this has killed so many... This area. It's...
Alright, so... There is technically a way you can damage glitch the dragon and bring his health lower than 50% before the phase shift. However, if you do it wrong, you can kill the dragon outright in this form, which causes the game to soft lock, so not necessarily recommended. Oh, at least not in the marathon. Actually hitting this guy in 3D is really frustratingly hard, and this is not going well. It helps if he goes lower to the ground, but right now he's pretending he's one of the dragons from Secret of Mana. If you've ever played that game, this is pretty awful. And we are on a bit of a time limit. Eventually the dragon will just leave and you just lose the game. There is a autosave. I will be able to retry if that occurs, but... This is ridiculous!
Yeah,
Get over here!
This is troll percent right here. He's not coming down at all. One of the strats you can use if you... The dragon will have as much damage as he has, resets where his position is out in the cave.
Okay, now I think he's low enough he's going to try to land. I'm actually surprised we didn't lose from a timeout there, but we got it eventually. Time will be once I accept being a king. Or reject it. Either is actually fine. There's one last opportunity for a soft lock here, by the way. Katrina tries to hug you, and if her pathing fails, the game soft locks.
Right in front of your wife, too. That's impressive.
So now we have an awkward situation where Katrina... Oh, I guess I should be ready to say time. Time! There we go. We have a very awkward situation where Katrina announces that she accepts my marriage proposal, but I would like to remind you who currently has that engagement ring. And it's not Katrina, and it's not me. So let's see if we did the thing. Yes, we did the thing! Alright, so the end of the game conveniently gives you a to-do list. And so, since there's like 1,100 points here, something really in excess of 1,000 here, we use this list to measure our completion. And everything that is here is something we cannot possibly do, and we cannot get this list to be any shorter than this. We did not get married to Arana because she's dead. We did not release Arana because we released Katrina. We did not visit Arana because she's dead. We did not get married to Nawar because Elsa rudely stole our ring. If we were playing on version 1.0, which is very hard to get running on a modern computer, but if we were, then there is actually a way to duplicate the Hera's ring in that particular version. So in that version, you could get Nawar married as well. But unless and until someone bothers, this is the minimum number of things on the not yet done list. As for the things we did do, here they are. And I will let the other two runners here start their wrap up as I scroll through.
Go ahead, David.
I don't know what to say here except thank you, High Spirits, for hosting the Quest for Glory crew once again. I love this game a lot. I want to keep playing it. Even Dragonfire. I love Dragonfire.
Dragonfire. Yeah, if I could say that this is actually one of those games that is really easy to learn, but because it's execution based, as you get better, it becomes really kind of hard to master properly. So if you're looking for a good simple RPG that you could probably pick up, and I would actually, any one of these games has the potential for it, especially in the any percent. If you are looking for something that can give you 100% categories that will go on for days and that you can import in and out of, that this is a series that is absolutely, it's cheap to get into, but it can keep on giving. It really can. It can keep on giving. I would also like to say, rip Toby. I was really hoping that Crow would have successfully married Toby, as we all hoped he would have.
Unfortunately, not stepping up to the plate there. I think 2 women is all my character can handle here. So yeah, these games are some of the games we all of us grew up on, and there's a big nostalgia factor there. But compared to a lot of the other adventure games from the era, these ones age well because it has the RPG elements to fall back on those frustrating moments that all of those point and click or type in your command adventure games always run into. Usually once in the mid game and then several times in the end game is usually how it goes. As for me, I am still Crow, obviously, and you can check out my stream. Whenever I stream, it's kind of a wide variety of things. The most common thing these days is a randomizer I'm making for Final Fantasy IV, and I stream that pretty much all Sundays. I'm thinking about starting to transition that particular streaming slot in towards starting to actually make the ActRaiser randomizer I keep talking about. So that'll probably happen sometime next year. Also expect various speedruns, this series included, at other streaming days, and I also occasionally do casual playthroughs of story-driven games such as the Phoenix Wright series, and I do the voice acting for that as I go through. Those are usually on Tuesdays or Thursdays if I stream on those days. So just generally speaking, give me a follow and that will let you know when it is that I am streaming. So once again, thanks a lot to High Spirits for giving the opportunity to present games that don't usually show up in marathons, such as Quest for Glory here at Questing for Glory. So with that, I think we're done, and we're probably about ready to pitch on to the next game in this great marathon.
Agreed. Thanks for having us.
See you later.